How is it going, Bears fans? Welcome back to another episode of Beared Down Uncut, the show where we talk everything Bears every day of the week. Today, in episode number 135 of Uncut, we're going to be discussing when Justin Fields should enter the field, being the quarterback one for the Chicago Bears. When will his time come? When will he eventually start? And could he start the season as quarterback one? Today, we're going to be breaking all of these scenarios down, so let's get right into it. I would like to say before I introduce myself and my co-host, do us a favor. If you want Bears content every day of the week, we are back on the grind, posting consistently. Do us a favor, drop a like and subscribe, and if you're listening on any of the podcasting platforms, Apple or Spotify, do us a favor and follow us. We're going to keep you guys posted with Bears content each and every day of the week. I'm your host, Chris Malpe, today to discuss Justin Fields that still doesn't feel real. A week later, I'm joined with my co-host, Jaylen McClinton. Jaylen, how's your week been? Approaching the weekend, how you doing?
My week's been rough. So my baseball season started. We had a game yesterday. Got blown out. Don't want to talk about it. And they messed up our schedule, so it turns out we have another game today. So it's been a rough week.
Hey, it's a chance to go redeem yourself.
We're not going to redeem ourselves.
Can't go into it thinking you're losing. Yeah, I've had a stressful week as well.
We play a D1 hitter today. He's going to throw a no-no. Well.
Yeah, been a long week for me as well. Finals approaching. I know Parth already finished finals and is going back to Illinois, but I still got 2 more weeks of school. So finals rolling around. I'm going to Nashville this weekend, so you guys will see Zach filling in for me with the boys, but we're still going to keep the content coming. But yeah, still feels on cloud nine. Still feels like I'm on cloud nine with the whole Justin Fields thing. And we've got a lot to talk about him because a lot of Bears fans are very eager for him to already be the bell cow quarterback and eventually be the starter. So let's hop right into it. And let's start with this. Jaylen, obviously, when the Bears brought in Justin Fields, they still committed to Andy Dalton as their number one starter. They said they had a really good plan in place to develop Fields. And on paper, I see what they're talking about. The Alex Smith, Patrick Mahomes thing, where you groom him for a year and then you bring in Fields next year after he has some time under his belt, has been able to see the National Football League a lot better. But, you know, Fields is an incredible dual-threat quarterback and possibly the best talent the Bears have had at quarterback in like over 70 years. So do you see this as a legitimate quarterback competition, or do you see it being handed to Dalton regardless?
I think it will be a legitimate, quarterback competition. But, even if Justin Fields wins, as of right now, I don't think Nagy is going to start him right away. A lot of quarterbacks that are drafted high don't start right away unless it's like, like certain quarterback situations. Obviously, Joe Burrow last year, he started coming out the gate. Kyler Murray the year before that. But, we see a lot of, high quarterback prospects that end up doing well, not starting. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes set for, dang near a year. He didn't play till week 17, and then he was finally had the keys into the second season. Deshaun Watson didn't start till didn't start the first couple weeks of his season before he dominated towards ACL. Justin Herbert wasn't supposed to start week 2. He only started because a doctor collapsed Tyrod Taylor's lungs. So a lot of these quarterbacks that we see now, especially when they have a veteran ahead of them, we don't see them start right away. So I think that's going to be the same thing with Justin Fields. Even if he does win this competition, which is not going to be surprised if he does, he's a very talented quarterback. He has a chip on his shoulder because I feel like him and a lot of other people felt like he shouldn't have, fell out the top 10. But luckily for us, he did. And, who knows at this point? But I definitely think it's going to be a legitimate quarterback competition between him and Dalton.
Yeah, I got to go ahead and agree with you on a pin. I think it's absolutely a legitimate quarterback competition. We saw Cynthia Freeland of NFL Network say a couple days ago that at least a quarter of the teams in the National Football League had Justin Fields rated higher than Trevor Lawrence on their big boards. And a lot of people had him higher than QB4 that he was selected at. I think Justin Fields is ready for this moment. He's someone who throughout his time in college has performed at his best on the biggest stage. I think there's a legitimate chance that Fields starts week 1. We saw him in his sophomore season throw for 3,273 passing yards and 41 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. I think he's ready I think the light will eventually be on him in Chicago. I'm not sure if that's going to be week one. Once again, I feel like they possibly go Dalton, but I think if Fields outplays him and he's ready, I think there's no reason not to start him out the bat. We'll get into it a little bit later, but obviously winning this season is huge, especially in terms of the future of Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. So I think they know that when they drafted Fields, they need to get him in soon, and he can hopefully start winning some games for this team. I remember earlier this week, I'm forgetting the Ravens running back who was formerly at Ohio State.
J.K. Dobbins.
J.K. Dobbins was saying that Fields is going to study tape, and that he was going to find a way to beat the opposing team. And he scored the highest ever of any NFL quarterback in the mental aptitude test. So I'm really excited for Fields to get his chance, and I do think it's a legitimate competition. But let's expand a little bit on Dalton. Jaylen, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier, but it seems like all signs are still pointing towards Dalton at least starting the season to get things going. Fields can get some preseason action, get some time studying film under his belt. But do you think Andy Dalton should 100% kick off this year as the starting quarterback?
Should I? Not really. Obviously, a lot of people were mad when the Bears social media team posted a picture of Dalton and say QB1. A lot of people are living.
How ironic that looks now.
Yeah, so was I. So, personally, I don't think he should, because I feel like Justin Fields, obviously he's a rookie. He's, his first game as a starter will be his, first game as an NFL player in general. And he still has a lot of learning to do, because, no matter how good you are as a QB prospect, it's still going to be a learning curve from college, to the NFL. In college, you're playing against only a certain amount of people that are, good enough for the NFL. And, obviously in the NFL, you're playing NFL players that have, dedicated their whole lives to be in that type of moment. So personally, I would start him, week one, but, like I said, I don't think Andy Dalton should start, but he probably will, knowing, Nagy and Pace plan and, and stuff like that.
Seems like you don't think he's going to last too long as a starter, though.
Oh, no, I definitely don't think he's going to, last the whole season.
We'll get into that a little bit later for sure. If Dalton starts the season, when Fields will eventually start. But, it's a tough one for me. I said it earlier. I really think Fields is built for this moment. I think he's a winner. I think he's someone who steps up in the clutch. So I'm not entirely on board with Dalton starting the season. Do I think it happens? Yes. But we're really going to have to see how this plays out over training camp. I mean, we've seen the Bears switch up things in the past. Like last year, they said Mitch was going to be the starter. They did end up doing a quarterback competition with Mitch and Foles. And even though Mitch won that competition, there was still some doubt that he was actually going to start the season heading into the summer. So maybe we see something similar with Andy Dalton here. It all really depends on how Justin Fields comes out of the gates. Once training camp does roll around, we'll see whether or not he impresses, but I'm sure he will. And I'm sure his time in Chicago will eventually come up, and I think it's going to be sooner than later. Hopping into that before we close this one off, let's talk about how long it should be until Fields should start. Jaylen, we talked about this a little bit in our reaction to Fields getting drafted by the Bears, but we can expand on it a little bit more. We both subtly agreed that Dalton will probably start the season, but it seems like it's going to be a Foles-Trubisky situation where if things get bad, there's going to be a short leash on Andy Dalton, especially because this team has to win games. They have the third toughest strength of schedule in the entire NFL, and a coach and a GM who probably are still on the hot seat, even though they just nailed their quarterback pick. So how long do you think it is until Fields starts, Jaylen?
Well, with it being a longer season than usual, so 17 games, I wouldn't be surprised if he, comes in. If Dalton is, playing decent, in somewhere up until 8 to 9 games in, halfway point, or if Dalton is starting off bad, say the first 4 games were 1-3 or 2-2, and Dalton's not looking the best, I say throw. I was gonna say Foles in. Don't throw Foles in. Throw Fields in.
Why is he still on the roster? I'm confused at this point. No one probably wants to take on his contract, but hey, then again, he's still a good mentor. I don't think we should be paying him $9 million over the next 2 years to do that, but.
So like I said, if we're 2-2 at the first 4 games in, and Dalton is not looking the best, his offense is not getting off to a very hot start, I say throw Fields in. Like you said, I don't think at this point that I still think they're kind of on the hot seat, because obviously we made the playoffs last year, but it was no improvement from 2019 to 2020. We literally had the same record, except we last year, or 2019 we didn't make the playoffs, in 2020 we did. But we haven't won a playoff game since Pace has been here. Nagy is 0-2 in playoff games since he's been our head coach. So, and plus you failed on the quarterback position. As a GM, that's something you can't fail on. You can fail on every other position, running back, wide receiver, stuff like that. But when you trade up and use future assets to get a quarterback and he doesn't work out, that's going to put you in a very bad spot as a GM. So I don't think he's on the hot seat, but I don't think he has very long. I don't think if we don't see playoff wins or Justin Fields turns out to be a Pro Bowl type quarterback, top 5 or top 10 by his third year, I think Pace can potentially be fired. So you don't have that much time. We need to see if Fields is good right now. If he has a good rookie season and we're still bad, then Pace gets another chance. But if he's bad and we suck, then I could potentially see Pace getting fired.
Look, I love the pick. I think Fields has a dynamic play style, an explosive play style, which is desperately what Chicago needs. But at the end of the day, this comes down to winning football games.
Yeah.
You could get the pick right and still suck and get fired. So it's going to be about winning.
Seen that happen with the Chargers.
Exactly.
32 touchdowns and their coach got fired.
Yeah. No more Anthony Lynn down there. But it's all about winning football games. That's what this entire league is about. It's a winner's league. So take your small wins and losses where you want to, but it's all going to come down to, can this team put it together on Sundays? I don't think Andy Dalton will be a terrible option. I actually think Dalton knows Bill Lazor's offense, which is heavily incorporated here with the play action pass, and will be probably better than Foles, and I would actually probably say Trubisky too, to kick off the season. But I still don't know if we see consistency from Andy Dalton. So, Jaylen, you mentioned it. If they're 2-2, I think you have to throw in Fields. This can't be another year where the Bears get content and try and end the season at 9-7 or whatever, with the extra game. I guess you would say 10-7 or 9-8, and barely squeak by and make the playoffs, or barely miss the playoffs, but still have something to look forward to in the future. I think that the Bears have to be in win now mode by drafting Justin Fields. They extended their window of being contenders. I would say not Super Bowl contenders or anything. I would just probably say playoff contenders. But they've got a heck of a tough schedule. I think we see Fields hopefully by week 4 or 5, after he gets some time under his belt, getting to know the offense, seeing how other defenses scheme against it. So that's when I think we would see Fields, but I would be absolutely flabbergasted, number one, if Andy Dalton played good enough to where we wouldn't need to see Fields this year, and number two, just generally speaking, if we didn't see Fields at any point in 2021, because I would still love to see him be the week 1 starter. But thank you guys so much for tuning into episode number 135 of Uncut. Once again, if you guys want Bears content every day of the week, do us a favor, drop a like and subscribe. Follow if you're listening on any of the podcasting platforms. And if you're listening in on YouTube right now, do us a favor, drop down in the comments when you think Justin Fields should start in 2021. Should it be week 1? Should it be midseason? Should we not see him till next year and give him a year on the bench and possibly stink it up this year? There's a lot of ways you can go about this, but I know a lot of Bears fans definitely want to see Justin Fields play soon. If you want more content from us, head over to our website, bearddown.com. Link is in the description. You can see a ton of columns, articles, and blogs about post-draft things, so be sure to go check that out if you have any extra time. There's some great, hardworking people who put in the effort behind the scenes and are trying to get you guys some great content. So be sure to head over to our website. If you would like to find more content from us, you can find us on social media at Beared Down. That's on Instagram and Twitter. You can enter our giveaways that we do a couple times a year, see some special guests that we are planning to have on, and also give us advice on what you want to see on the channel, because we definitely want to be putting out content that you guys want. And finally, you can find the links to our personal social media pages down in the description. Myself as well as Jaylen, I definitely suggest you check us out on Twitter. We've been grinding there a lot, but our Instagrams are also in the description. You can see our thoughts on the entire National Football League as well as the entirety of Chicago sports, so definitely worth checking out as well. Jaylen McClinton, it's about the beginning of May right now, but I know we can't wait until September rolls around and training camp and everything just to see how this entire thing plays out. Any last words before we close this one out?
Hopefully we don't get shut out today. That's it.
Yeah, give Jaylen some support for the baseball game down in the comments.
We need it. We need a
I'm
lot of
sure
it.
he would appreciate that. But yeah, we're gonna keep rolling on with our lives, keep making Bears content, love what we do, and we're great. We're grateful to be back in the entire swing of things to get you guys content each and every day. So looking forward to continuing this journey and appreciate you guys for the support, guys. It's been a pleasure to be your host once again. My name is Chris Malpe, and Bears fans, as always, do us a favor and stay safe and bear down. We'll see you guys in the next one.